bestbookbits.com brings you the book summary of The Obesity Code by Fung. We are in the midst of an obesity epidemic, but despite being inundated with diet advice, we are only getting fatter. We count calories and exercise regularly, yet still the pounds won't budge. Why? In this highly readable and productive book, Dr. Fung sets out on a groundbreaking new theory that obesity is caused by our hormones rather than a lack of self-control. He reveals that overproduction of insulin in the body is the root cause of obesity and obesity-related illnesses, including type 2 diabetes, and offers robust scientific evidence that reversing insulin resistance is the only way to lose weight in the long term. It turns out that when we eat is just as important as what we eat, so in addition to his 5 basic steps, a set of lifelong eating habits that will improve your health and control your insulin levels, Dr. Fung explains how to use intermittent fasting to break the cycle of insulin resistance and reach a healthy weight for good. On with the book summary. Chapter 1. How Obesity Became an Epidemic. There were hardly any correlation between a child's environment and their obesity. A study showed that a child is more likely to resemble their parents. 70% of your tendency to gain weight is determined by your parentage. Obesity is overwhelmingly inherited. Humans are not genetically predisposition to overeat and become fat. In humans, evolution did not favor obesity, but rather leanness. One false assumption is that calories in and calories out are independent factors. In reality, they are dependent as calories in affects calories out. Because hormones regulate fat growth, obesity is a hormonal problem. The assumption that a calorie is false. Different types of calories will provoke different responses in your body, such as a calorie of an olive oil versus a calorie of sugar. Thermodynamics, the law of physics, has minimal relevance to human biology for the simple reason that the human body is not an isolated system. Energy is constantly entering and leaving. The body responds to reduced caloric intake by reducing energy expenditure in different systems like body heat, hair and nail replacement, strength and endurance, and heart volume and stroke. The theory that reducing caloric intake leads to weight loss is false. The low-fat, low-calorie diet has been proven to fail. Eating less does not result in lasting weight loss. It does not work. Exercise is not the only variable in total energy expenditure. In regards to weight loss, diet is 95%. Exercise has a lot of benefits, but not a lot towards weight loss. Studies have shown that increasing calories doesn't necessarily lead to weight gain. Eating more is the consequence of weight gain. Eating more doesn't make us fat. Getting fat makes us eat more. Getting fat makes us eat more. Obesity is a hormonal dysregulation of fat mass. Obesity is caused by a body set weight that is too high because of hormonal imbalance in the body. Under normal conditions, low insulin levels encourage glycogen and fat burning. High insulin secretion has long been associated with obesity. Obese people secrete much more higher levels of insulin than those of normal weight. Numerous studies show that insulin causes obesity. The most crucial question in obesity is how to reduce insulin. Cortisol is a so-called stress hormone which mediates the flight or fight response, a set of psychological responses to perceived threats. Cortisol raises insulin. Stress causes weight gain. Sleep deprivation leads to weight gain. Getting good sleep is essential to any weight loss plan. The carbohydrate insulin hypothesis states that refined carbohydrates and sugar causes spikes in insulin levels. Highly refined carbohydrates don't trigger the satiety hormones and cause an addicted feeling. These foods activate reward centers in our brains and makes us feel comfort. Refined carbohydrates are not natural foods, but are instead highly processed. Their toxicity lies in that processing. Sugars seem to contribute more to obesity than any refined carbohydrates. Insulin resistance causes high insulin levels, and high insulin levels causes obesity. Obesity is time dependent. The longer you stay obese, the harder it is to lose weight. The body builds resistance to whatever it is exposed to. Therefore, more insulin causes more insulin resistance. This causes more insulin to be produced, and the cycle continues. The starting point of the vicious cycle is high insulin levels. Eating frequent meals does not have a significant effect on your overall metabolism. Persistent high insulin levels throughout the day is what causes an increase in insulin resistance. Another myth is that eating frequently controls hunger, but there is hard to find evidence to support this. The increase in eating opportunities has led to a persistence of high level of insulin. The idea of breakfast being the most important meal is mostly a North American custom. The dawn phenomenon. Every morning before you wake up, a natural circadian rhythm jolts our bodies with a heavy mix of growth hormone, cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, adrenaline. This cocktail stimulates the liver to make new glucose, essentially giving us a shot of the good stuff to wake us up. We don't need food when we wake up. Morning hunger is often a learned behavior starting from childhood. Most of us aren't hungry naturally in the morning. Breakfast eaters tend to eat more and more often. Furthermore, many people admit to forcing themselves to eat breakfast because they've been told it's the healthy choice. You should eat more healthy foods like fruits and vegetables, but only if it replaces unhealthy food in your diet. Replace, don't add. High insulin resistance is known as type 2 diabetes. Persisting high levels of insulin causes obesity and type 2 diabetes. Fructose, the most dangerous sugar. Fructose overconsumption leads directly to insulin resistance. If you want to avoid weight gain, remove all added sugars from your diet. Don't replace them with artificial sweeteners. Vinegar has been shown to have a mild weight loss effect. Vinegar reduces the glycemic index of carbs and reduces insulin resistance. Over 70% of insulin fluctuations is not due to blood glucose levels. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Your body's ability to make you feel satiety protects you from weight gain. All foods stimulate insulin, so all foods can cause weight gain. Stick to real, natural foods. Studies show that saturated fat has no correlation with coronary heart disease. Eating fat doesn't make you fat, but may protect you against it. Eating fat together with other foods tends to decrease glucose and insulin spikes. Dietary fat would be expected to protect against obesity. The low-fat diet paradigm for weight loss was proven to be a failure. All diets work because they all address a different aspect of the disease of obesity, but none of them work for very long because none of them address the totality of the disease. Obesity has a multifactorial nature. Sugar directly produces insulin resistance. With no redeeming nutritional qualities, added sugars are usually one of the first foods to be eliminated in any diet. Some of the best replacements for desserts are fresh seasonal fruit with whipped cream, nuts and cheeses, 70% of or more dark chocolate. If your goal is weight loss, your first major step must be to severely restrict sugar. Don't replace sugar with artificial sweeteners, as they also raise insulin as much as sugar. Don't snack. Grazing is one of the greatest weight loss myths and opposite of virtually all food traditions. Don't eat snacks. Simplify your life. Make breakfast optional. If you're not hungry, don't eat breakfast. But if you are, it's okay. Just don't sacrifice quality for convenience in heavily processed, packaged, sugar-added, refined carb foods. Aside from water, coffee, and tea can have some protective effects against type 2 diabetes. Reduce your consumption of refined grains, such as white flour, stimulate insulin to a greater degree than virtually any other food. The toxicity in much of the Western food lies in processing rather than the food itself. The carbohydrates in Western diets are heavily skewed towards refined grains and are thus highly obesogenic. Moderate your protein consumption. Increase your consumption of natural fats. Dietary fats is the least likely to stimulate insulin of the 3 macronutrients. Increase your consumption of protein factors. 5 basic steps of weight loss. Reduce your consumption of added sugars. Reduce your consumption of refined grains. Moderate your protein intake. Increase your consumption of natural fats. And increase your consumption of fiber and vinegar. There's actually a lot more agreement with mainstream diets than we think, but the discord is what fuels sales in books and advice. There is nothing new except what has been forgotten. Marie Antoinette. Insulin resistance is a problem of meal timing. Fasting is one of the oldest remedies in human history and has been part of the practice of virtually every culture and religion on earth. Fasting is an inherent human instinct, especially when we are sick. Fasting is the most effective and consistent strategy to decrease insulin levels. The body preserves muscle mass until fat stores become so low that it has no choice. Feasting follows fasting, and fasting follows feasting. Diets must be intermittent, not steady. It is clear that there are no lasting negative side effects of fasting. On the contrary, it appears to have extraordinary health benefits. Fasting can combine with any diet imaginable. There are two considerations for proper food choices: what to eat and when to eat. Fasting is defined as the voluntary act of withholding food for a specific period of time. Non-caloric drinks such as water and tea are permitted, and absolute fast refers to withholding of both food and drink. Make sure you break your fast gently and don't overeat. Sample foods for breaking your fast include a handful of nuts or a salad. During fasting, it's important to recognize that hunger does not persist but instead comes in waves. Staying busy during a fasting day often works. Starting your day with a glass of cold water helps. Fasting is actually an ideal time to exercise. The main ideas and themes: because hormones regulate fat growth, obesity is a hormonal problem. Eating less does not result in lasting weight loss. In regards to weight loss, diet is 95%. Cortisol raises insulin. Getting good sleep is essential to any weight loss plan. The longer you stay obese, the harder it is to lose weight. We don't need food when we wake up. If you want to avoid weight gain, remove all added sugars from your diet. Reduce your consumption of refined grains. Sugar directly produces insulin resistance. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Stick to real natural foods. All diets work because they all address a different aspect of the disease of obesity. Don't snack. Insulin resistance is a problem of meal timing, and fasting is the most efficient and consistent strategy to decrease insulin levels. And last, make sure you break your fast gently and don't overeat. And that's a wrap on this quick book summary, The Obesity Code. If you like this book summary, click the link below to download the summary. We at Best Book Bits have done over 1,000 book summaries in video, written, and audio format. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and the website bestbookbits.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Have yourself